Toronto is facing a severe housing crisis. Ever since the pandemic, prices for homes, apartments, and condos have been going through the roof, with estimates of the average home price reaching $1.2 million, and rents having risen 5 times faster than historical trends. To find the root causes and impacts of the housing crisis, we interviewed individuals in GTA who knew the issue at hand. This is Daniel Latif, an economics professor at York University. When we asked him what he thought caused this crisis, this is what he had to say.
We're going to be the only developed economy to have a growing population base. Right now, suddenly this huge influx of population has caused like shortage not only of housing, but shortage of jobs, all of that. But then there are other economies like Japan, Italy, France, where the demographics, which is the study of population,
Okay.
population is going down. Older people, because of increases in healthcare, are living much longer, and young people like you guys are not there to support us, to build a tax base, to do the work. So the mistake that the government has made, which has caused this housing crisis, is going to be an amazing gift for Canada in 2035 and beyond. I know it's
That's hard to understand. Yeah.
you guys get it now? So like they
yeah.
import a lot of young force, creating this
Yeah.
this imbalance.
So right now it's messing it up.
Right now, it's messing it up. Infrastructure will catch up. People that have been brought into the country, they're going to start working, and then our economy is going to start growing, and then this imbalance is going to correct,
Okay.
and it's going to be great.
After the immigration cuts were put in place in November, Canada's economy shrunk for the first time this year. And just like Daniel said, by increasing immigration significantly, the government essentially used the economic stimulus to mask the fact that Canada's economy isn't in good shape at all. Ontario's economic and cultural focus on Toronto has made the city a primary destination for these newcomers. And since the GTA alone accounts for 20% of Canada's population and also contributes 20% of the country's GDP, its high level of urbanization and economic opportunities have attracted migration, raising housing demand. Now, this sudden surge in immigration has been significantly driving population growth in the post-pandemic period, further straining an already overwhelmed housing market.
This is what Ms. Fawcett had to say when we asked her the same question.
For the number of people coming in and the number of houses that were available. So all of that kind of has contributed to more homelessness, more people that can't get into the housing market like you guys I worry about in the future. If you guys can actually get in and not like renting's good. Most people in Europe rent, they don't own their homes. So maybe we need to move that perspective, but it's still, that was one thing that was a really great thing in the past is that you could afford a home, right? So if they're letting in too many people too fast, there needs to be more of a plan of, if our country is based on immigration, which is a wonderful thing, how do we make sure that they are able to have a good quality of life when they get here? Because you have more people that are now coming and immigrating and then leaving, which we don't want that, right? It's good for our economy, it's good for our aging population, it's good for our country as a whole for diversity and multiculturalism, so it's wonderful to have all these immigrants coming in and contributing, but they don't want to be here if they can't find housing and a job and a better quality of life than what they left, right? So that makes it really challenging.
Okay, cool.
As we approached our university careers, we wanted to understand how Toronto's housing crisis impacts students. The housing crisis has significantly affected university students, forcing them to decide between affordability or practicality in their living arrangements. Many students opt for cheaper housing farther from the campus, but this leads to longer commutes that cut into study and extracurricular time. So we wanted to find out for ourselves by asking about some of their experiences.
We're here at U of T.
And we're gonna interview some students. Okay, so why did you choose to go off campus instead of on campus?
Well, I moved to Kitchener, so it
Right.
was kind of The commute is like 2.5 hours to 3 hours, a
Right.
one way. That's basically not doable.
Oh, so it's about the commute, not about the pricing or anything.
Yeah. Like it was like
That's
I was kind of
unfortunate.
forced. Like, cause first year I was actually like I was in Mississauga, so I did actually commute,
Oh.
and it was so much better because it was like in terms of money, it was so much better.
Oh,
it was
cool.
definitely better.
What about you? Why are you going in Oakville commuting day to day instead of just getting a residence here?
I actually lived in residence here in Chestnut actually.
What was the problem with
in
that?
first year? Well, other than okay, I'll just like straight like the main biggest one was actually money. It was just like my parents
cool.
just couldn't like my family's like decently off, but like
Right.
we can't afford like how crazy expensive residence was.
How much was it?
I think first year it was like 18,000. It was bonkers. And that was like
Oh,
including the meal plan they had there, but then the food like low key sucked, and then there's like too much money on the meal plan, so you couldn't even really use it all.
Yeah,
before the
I'm
year
sure it's
ended.
been increasing.
Not everyone is as lucky as Adam and Akshat, as students are left scrambling for affordable options. Many students resort to overcrowded or even illegal boarding arrangements to secure living arrangements. To address this issue, the federal government recently introduced an international student cap aimed at reducing pressure on domestic students' housing and resources. However, this measure became a double-edged sword, as many Ontario universities rely heavily on higher tuition fees from international students. Policy reforms need to balance affordability, stability, and university funding to ensure long-term solutions rather than temporary fixes. This crisis we face has driven homelessness to unprecedented levels. As the city struggles to recover from the pandemic, higher interest rates aimed at curbing inflation have kept prices for food and necessities elevated, often driven by corporate greed. When asked about any additional obstacles he had to face, this is what John had to say.
And are there any specific obstacles restrictions?
Just the price. It's very expensive. For one bedroom, it's crazy. Yeah.
Well, I look forward to you getting better.
Okay, thank you.
The existing affordable housing programs just aren't working. As John told us, shelters are overflowing and waitlists for affordable housing stretch up to a decade long. Despite government initiatives such as expediting development approvals and increasing investments in affordable housing, the results have been mixed at best. For instance, while headlines frequently mention new measures, the underlying structural problems remain unresolved. The government's focus on short-term solutions and politically motivated gestures has done little to address the root causes. Toronto's housing crisis is more than rising prices. It's a struggle impacting lives every day. The question is, how do we ensure a future where everyone has a home?